Okay, we're in volume 9 of the Bible story. Part 3, story 10, most awful night. Okay. If you had been in Jerusalem on that Saturday night after the crucifixion of Jesus, you would not have slept very much. I'm sure the disciples didn't. They were too sorrowful, too disappointed, and too afraid. It doesn't have an "and" in it. I'm trying to read straight, but my eyes and my brain does not work together. Okay. Right after sunset, when the Sabbath was over, many of them, no doubt, began to pack their things, ready to leave in the morning. Now that their master had been put to death, they feared for their own lives. They were sure the priests and rulers would not stop until they rid Jerusalem of all his followers. Others spent the night just talking about all that had happened during the past week. Over and over again they asked one another, with no hope for an answer, why did everything suddenly go why did everything suddenly go wrong? Why did Jesus hide why did Jesus ride as a king into Jerusalem and then let himself be crucified? Why did he bring Lazarus out of the tomb and then let himself be buried in one? If he were indeed the Son of God, why did he not work a miracle and come down from the cross in the sight of everybody? It was all very hard to understand. Slowly the night wore on. Midnight passed. Those who had gone to bed fell into a troubled sleep. Those who had decided to sit up began to doze. Suddenly there was a dull roar as the earth began to quake and shudder again. Buildings trembled, tents swayed, people screamed, dogs barked wildly, men and women and children, half clothed, ran into the open, their face pale with frighten in the starlight. Okay, fright. With fright. Okay, fright in the starlight. Okay. An earthquake, they cried. Out of the tomb, out of that tomb where Jesus lay buried, the quake seemed to shake the whole mountain on which the cross stood. These Roman soldiers leapt to their feet in alarm. Some had been sitting on a boulder, while others lay on the ground half asleep, waiting for dawn. Now all of a sudden were wide awake, their eyes on the tomb they had been told to guard. A moment later there was a brilliant burst of light that seemed to fall from heaven to earth and envelop the tomb. With a dazzling being, a dazzling, beautiful being appeared from nowhere and snapped the Roman seal, rolling back the heavy stone as though it was a pebble. A spirit, the cried the soldiers, fearing, falling on their faces in abject terror. They became as dead men, as the Bible said, so frightened they were. They fainted. At that moment, Jesus, the King of life, strode forth from his tomb in resurrection power and glory and vanished into the night. When the light had faded and the earth ceased to shake, the soldiers looked up again, only to find the tomb open and empty. Now a new fear seized them, for they knew Pilate would never forgive them for letting this happen, nor would he ever believe their story. "We must tell the priest at once," some of them said, "and they must help us, or we are lost." So they hurried to Jerusalem, and, early though it was, demanded to see the chief priest at once. Now the priests were scared. The earthquake had worried them enough. The earthquake had worried them enough, but the soldiers' report terrified them. What if it was true? What if Jesus of Nazareth had indeed risen from the dead as he had said he would? Such a story could rock the nation and turn the whole world upside down. There would be no end to the damage it would do to everything the priest stood for. It would be nipped in the bud. Okay, and then it has the painting of the soldiers and the angel coming down, or the light and the soldiers scattering. There's the big light highlighting the tomb, and there's the soldiers are running. I'd run too, something like, you know, and then them being not of the Christian faith. Some of them was probably thought one of their gods, like Minerva or one of the Thor, one of the Celtic god or the Roman gods came and did that. Of course, they would run. No, Minerva. Okay, and then there's another painting right here. It says it's 1957, Jess Shalaxter and then it's got a Roman soldier got a lot of Roman soldiers running, and then the angel right there, and of course the representation of Jesus coming out of the tomb. And that's the painting. These paintings might be in Rome themselves. They may not be in somebody's home. There's no telling where they're at. The original ones. Okay, let's get back to the story. So, they called a special meeting of the Sanhedrin and repeated what the soldiers told them. All faces grew pale. This was terrible. They would have had more trouble with this Galilean preacher now than before. They crucified him. All agreed that the story must be kept from the common people at all costs. There Were it to get around among the thousands attending the Passover, there could be a riot. Okay, every time I see riot, I'm thinking of that song or the movie Riot. Okay, I just liked it. Okay, let me get back to this. Okay, but how could they stop the mouths of a hundred soldiers? There was there was only one way: bribe them. So they added this sin to that of murder. Look, they said to the soldiers, here's a large sum of money. It is yours if you agree to spread the rumor that his disciples came by night and stole him away while you slept. But what about Pilate? He said. Asked the soldiers. Suppose he hears that we slept at our post of duty. Never mind, said the priest. Don't worry. We'll take care of that. If this comes to the governor's ear, we will perhaps persuade him and secure you. And that is what happened. The soldiers took the money and told the lie. To everybody who asked them what happened that night, they explained that the disciples came and stole the body of Jesus while they slept. So many people believed them. We all never How many people believed them we shall never know. But the story was still being passed around for many years when Matthew wrote his gospel. And what a false and foolish story it was. And then it has a illustration down here at the bottom of a priest paying a Roman soldier for the lie. There's the illustration of the Roman soldier being paid to lie that the body of Jesus was stolen by the disciples. That they were overpowered by 12 fishermen in the middle of the night. That was so crazy. Okay, well, that is the end of part 3 story. Oh, give me a second. 10. So it's time for the break, and I'll be back and we'll finish out the book and then work on the next. See you in a bit.